Welcome to The Beauty Shift, proudly sponsored by Karenique.
For thicker, fuller hair at every age and every stage of a woman's life.
I'm Michelle Phillips.
I'm a celebrity stylist and beauty expert, a national TV personality, and self-confidence coach. And over the years, I've worked with some of the most recognized faces in the world, helping them look and feel their absolute best inside and out.
That ultimate inner, outer wow. Now that's true beauty, my friends.
Welcome back to The Beauty Shift, my beautiful friends. Today, I want to go beyond what you see in the mirror and what you believe about yourself. Because the truth is, the way you see yourself, the way you speak to yourself, the way you feel about yourself is shaping everything. So many women come to me and they're like, I've just lost my confidence. I don't feel good about myself anymore. And what they don't realize is that the voices in their heads and the self-doubt, that hesitation, it doesn't just appear. It was programmed. And that's why I'm so excited about today's guest. Tim Shurr is a multi-award-winning speaker, best-selling author, and one of the leading experts in subconscious reprogramming. He has helped over 15,000 people in individual coaching sessions. He's helped them eliminate self-sabotage, anxiety. He does this by going straight to the root of the unconscious mind. Pretty cool, yeah? So today we are bringing this conversation into your life to help boost your confidence, your identity, and the beliefs that are shaping you and how they show up every single day. So without further ado, please join me in welcoming Tim Shurr to The Beauty Shift. Welcome to The Beauty Shift, Tim. I'm really excited to have you here today.
Oh, thank you so much. I'm excited to be here.
I could pick your brain on so many different topics, but because I'm a self-confidence coach and a beauty expert, the one thing that comes to mind, because so many women, including me at times, I've worked on this hard though, so it's not as often, but this not good enough. This feeling of not good enough is just so common. And even, in the most successful women I've worked with, some of the biggest celebrities I've worked with, none of us are immune to struggle with this feeling. What do you feel from your professional point of view actually causes us to really struggle with this?
We all grow up and we go through different experiences, and we have what I call big T and little T traumas, right? So little T traumas are when we don't get picked to be on the team, or someone rejects us, or we get embarrassed in third grade standing in front of the classroom, right? So those kinds of hurts. And then we have the big T traumas, right? Where people go through physical or some type of abuse, right? Or there's a death in the family, or an illness, or a divorce, or someone moves away. And so what happens is our brain, without our realizing it, without our permission, starts to try to figure out what these situations mean. And so it's giving it meaning all the time, and it comes up with these unconscious beliefs. Right? And these beliefs like, I'm not safe, I'm not worthy, I'm not good enough, right? Create the fears that we deal with: the fear of rejection, the fear of humiliation, the fear of failure, the fear of abandonment. And so it causes us to move through life playing not to lose, right? How do I not get hurt? Instead of playing to win, which is where we want to be, because that's what creates more peace in our lives. So, and that's what gives us unshakable confidence. So what happens is we have these beliefs, and our mind creates this mental rule that says that I'm not safe, or I'm not going to be good enough to take care of myself or get through this situation or be loved. And so when you have that belief, it's like a weed, and the root of it is buried in our mind. Now, what we try to do is we try to improve our mindset, right? So we're doing yoga, we're doing affirmations, we're taking care of ourselves, we're exercising, we're taking care of us the way that we've been taught to, or the way that we know how, but it still feels like that feeling's there, because a lot of those strategies are like cutting the top off of a weed. So then we try to change how we feel, or distract how we feel with drinking or smoking or eating, or, other activities. And that's like throwing dirt on top of the weeds. So a lot of people will say, I've been working on myself for 20 years. I've been going to therapy and everything else, but I still struggle. And it's because they never got to the root part of the issue. They never found the unconscious belief that's in there underneath the mindset. And so that's where I focused. I focus on, how do you find those beliefs? How do you pull those weeds and plant flowers so that you don't ever go back to feeling like you're not enough? That imposter syndrome is gone. right? How do you create a stable foundation where all the other work that you've done on yourself now is more effective because you have a stronger foundation? And that's where I find we get hung up. We just don't know. Most people don't know that those unconscious beliefs are there, and they certainly don't know how to upgrade them.
Exactly. I love what you're saying because I don't know if you're familiar with Louise Hay. She was my mentor, and I worked with her, and I'm a Hay House author. But a lot of this work is what she taught. And, I thought when I met her that I had done so much work that I was good and that I really had this sense of self and this strong sense of self-worth. And then as I was moving along and becoming an author and then a speaker and then more and more in television and then being around people like Wayne Dyer and these very, big iconic leaders, I began to shrink and started to lose my self-confidence. And it's interesting how you think you've got it licked, but I had to go back and do some deeper work. And I think what you're talking about and what you teach is something that is so important because if we, like you said, if we don't get to the root of it, it's going to just start popping up, like you said, like weeds. Like, oh, it's surfacing in a relationship. Oh, now it's surfacing in a new opportunity work-wise, or meeting a new group of friends, whatever that may be. And for me, I had to go back to like childhood, you know, dialogue and think, when did this first come up? When was this what is my first recollection of feeling not good enough? And it came when I was very young, very young. So I would love for you to talk about this because I think so much emphasis is on, well, just think positive and turn your negative thoughts into positive ones. Well, I mean, that's good, but that's not going to really clean out what's going
Right.
on. I point to my gut because I feel like we hold a lot of stuff internally, not just up here,
Oh,
but
yeah.
throughout our body.
Yeah. Well, as Louise would say, the body keeps the score. Right.
Yeah.
And so
Yeah. That's why so
the
much
best.
disease and stuff shows up, right?
You're
Sickness,
exactly
illness.
right. Yeah, absolutely. So imagine you have a barrel, right? And this barrel holds water, and your goal is to try to keep putting as much water in as you can, but it keeps leaking out. And what most people are doing with the affirmations and with the pop psychology tools and everything they're learning, or even from therapy, the cognitive behavioral tools, which is just like positive thinking on steroids, right? It's like pouring more water into the barrel. The problem is there's a hole in the bottom.
Hmm.
There's a hole in the bottom of the barrel. That's where the limiting belief is. So it doesn't matter how much you pour in, how positive you are. If you don't patch that hole, you feel like you're just being drained, right? So we got to patch the hole. And then all those other tools are very helpful. And that will help you feel full. It'll help you feel fulfilled, right? So that's the goal. It's just that we're not taught how to be belief hunters. We're not taught to find those beliefs. People will do inner child work. So they'll go back and they'll love the little kid inside of them and they'll give them the resources they didn't have. But the piece that they miss is then, that just one final little piece, which is what was the belief that formed in your mind as a result of that experience? And then what would you rather believe instead? Just, it's so simple, but most people are missing it. And as a result, they don't clean up the belief. They did healing, they did forgiveness, they did a lot of cool strategies, but they end up relapsing or going back because they didn't find that core belief and upgrade it. Now, something that you were describing, Michelle, is a little different because it's not like we just have one belief. It's not like you just have one weed in a mental garden, right?
Yeah.
There's a few. And so as you are progressing, you can upgrade some beliefs and have a really great foundation and create a level of success that is very exciting. And then when it expands and you meet other people who seem fancier or more important, right, more successful, or a new relationship or whatever it may be, and it starts to make us feel like, that's just us getting out of our comfort zone. And the way that personal growth works is you're going to the next belief where you get stuck, because whenever you get stuck, there's a belief there, right?
Yeah.
I'm not enough. I'm not going to measure up. I won't be as good as they are, right? So that's just a belief. And so you find that belief, you upgrade it, and then you grow until you find the next belief that's holding you back. And really life is getting from one belief to the next. And as you are doing this on purpose, you will feel like life is going, like you're succeeding with peace instead of pressure.
Ah, that is so true because you're right. I mean, the more you move forward and the more you do the things that scare the heck out of you, the more you go,
Yeah.
oh, okay, I can hang out with Wayne Dyer and I can share the stage with them. He's a cool guy. He's normal. I'm normal.
Yeah.
Everything's normal. But I think we take
Yes.
things and making a big deal out of Wayne Dyer. But let's just
Yeah.
say you get a new job
Yeah.
and you've been doing this for 20 years, but all of a sudden
Yeah.
you've got a new team, you've got a new boss,
Yeah.
you've got all these, these expectations and you're capable, but still there's a part of you that's just like, oh, I hope I measure up. I hope I perform that the way that they want me to.
Yes.
I hope I succeed in the way I've promised. I mean, there's
Yeah.
just so many different aspects of life that we could go down the pathway of and really
Yes.
dissect how many times we really discount ourselves and we're afraid and it's all fear based.
Yeah. That's why I say so many of us are playing not to lose because we're
Mhm.
and so when you have that strategy, that subconscious strategy that's running you, then even if it looks like you're winning, you won't feel like it.
Yeah.
You'll feel like, yeah, but still, I haven't done enough, right? Or I call it achiever syndrome because,
Mhm.
we both work with a lot of very successful people. And as a result, even though they've done so well, it feels like they can't take their foot off the gas because they're going to miss an opportunity or it's all going to fall apart or they're going to get blindsided in some way. And so it just causes this tremendous amount of pressure and stress and uncertainty all the time. And you're like, yeah, but you're financially secure now, or you're in a great relationship, or things are going really well, but they can't let go. They're still can't turn the mind off, right? They're
Yeah.
still in the middle of the night, worrying about things, or still because of the pressure, they get caught up in bad habits that end up really sidetracking them. So we've all heard those kinds of stories. So we have to continually upgrade those beliefs, figure out what they are, and then train ourselves so that we're playing to win. So the goal isn't just to try to get somewhere else or have something else. It really is to be the best version of you and to squeeze the most amount of joy as you possibly can out of each moment.
Right. And not strive for perfection because there's no such thing.
Mm,
I think in
correct.
that achiever,
Yeah.
because I
Yeah.
can relate to some of the things that you were talking about, but I also have worked with some pretty big people, CEOs and world leaders and
Yeah.
celebrities that, it's that high achievement and it's almost like this expectation for them to be perfect. And I
Yeah.
think our society now is striving for that sense of, wanting to be perfect in a way because we see so many different things out there beyond our own little bubble that we
Yes.
compare ourselves to. So, I mean, it
Yes.
is, if you think about the struggles that we place on ourselves that we really
Mhm.
don't have to. So when you say
Mhm.
play to win, what are some of the strategies that you share with your clients to start taking the steps to let go of a lot of these things that we hold on to that aren't serving us?
Yeah, great question, Michelle. So let's take the idea of perfectionism. So usually what I would ask is what happens if you're not perfect?
Right.
And I usually get two different answers. So answer one is, well, then I'm going to lose something. Something bad's going to happen. We don't even know what it is. We just got this feeling like something bad's about to happen. That's what anxiety is. It's like a fire alarm that's going off even when there's no fire. So we just assume that we're going to lose or get hurt in some way, probably because we've had experiences like that in the past. The other type of person is like, well, if it's not perfect, then it's not going to be as good as it could be. And they're a perfectionist because they're really talented. They have a vision. They know it can be great. And they get really frustrated, usually with others, because others say they're going to go along with the vision and then they don't. And so we go through life being frustrated because others aren't measuring up or others aren't keeping their word or others aren't, and so we're so frustrated and it will keep you stuck in frustration because we can't control what others do. We can influence, but we don't have control over that. So we have to learn how to know that what we put out there is enough, right? That we are enough. And that if we can't get joy, fully from this situation, we'll get enough joy from a bunch of different situations that it will all end up feeling satisfying anyway. Right. So I do have some people that eventually became clients. But in the beginning, they were like, no, I don't want you in my head messing with my mojo. I know I got some stress and stuff, but this is what made me who I am. I'm the money guy, or I'm the success guy, or I'm this, and I don't want you messing that up. I'm like, we're not going to mess anything up. We're optimizing you, so that you continue to grow and expand your capacity. You're not walking around with the same iPhone 1 that they came out with 17 years ago. You got the iPhone 17. Why? Because the software is optimized. It works better. We want to do the same for the software inside of you.
Great advice. So many things when you're talking, I see scenarios of little pieces of myself, but of clients, my husband, my friends, my kids. And when you brought up the word anxiety, that really struck a chord with me, because I think we all have anxiety. I mean, that's just part of life. Now I see so many kids, younger generation, I say kids, 20s, 30s, and even younger, but that say, I have anxiety. Like it is like, they've labeled themselves and they've diagnosed themselves with anxiety. And the labeling of it, the more you say you have anxiety, doesn't that make you kind of step into feeling more anxious more often, and just saying, it's almost like, well, I have it, so that's the way it is? Is that
and you're right on.
what
And it's not
say?
even anxiety, it's my anxiety.
Right.
You don't understand my anxiety.
Yeah. And it's like, this is mine and I'm not going to get rid of it, but I have it and it's awful
Yes.
and it's
Yeah.
debilitating. And I'm not making
Yeah.
fun. I'm just saying
No.
that I really want to help people who are anxious and have anxiety understand
Yes.
that there is a way to resolve that, because anxiety is a part of life. But of course, panic attacks and things like that are very serious, and anxiety is very serious and debilitating. So how do you work with your clients in that aspect? I just see this like a growing thing, and
Yeah,
it's
you're
sad.
exactly right. Well, I think that, as our society progresses, we become more and more aware of how important mental health is. It
Yes.
wasn't something that people paid attention to even 50 years ago, not really. And so it's more prevalent. However, with social media and the internet, I'm getting calls from people saying that my 5-year-old has anxiety. And I'm like, I don't think that at 5 she should have anxiety. Right.
Right.
So, but it's part of the culture now. Everybody's traumatized, gaslighted, everyone's a narcissist, and everyone has anxiety, right? It's kind of, these terms are out in the world now and everybody's using them. And so in life, there's going to be pain, but so much of the suffering we experience is optional. Now, nobody gets up and says, I'm going to suffer today. I'm going to be riddled with fear and anxiety and worry. Nope, that's nobody's plan. And a lot of times we're working really hard. That's what got me into this career. I was trying to get rid of my own anxiety, right? The fear that something bad was going to happen, that I wasn't going to be able to protect myself or handle it. I was always afraid I was going to run out. I was going to run out of money, love, opportunities, chances, ideas. Now I'm running up, right? So it's a different approach, right? Because I'm playing to win. And it's a skill. I had to learn how to do that. But before I could do that, I had to find the beliefs. And so basically, when I'm taking someone through my one belief away journey, because that's what I found, you're just one belief away from a pretty big breakthrough, and it can happen fast. I mean, I've consistently worked with people who had been having anxiety or panic attacks, sometimes for 30 years. And in a session or two, that's over, right? That has stopped, and they are feeling more calm, more confident, more secure. People have panic attacks about flying, right? Or driving over bridges, or in storms, or stage fright, or speaking in front of groups. It doesn't really matter. It's always the same thing. It's that fear that I'm going to lose control and something bad's going to happen. And so what we do in the first session is we upgrade the belief. We start with the feeling that they're having, and then we follow it all the way back to the very first time they ever had that feeling. Because it's like dominoes. If you can find the first domino and it knocks over all the other ones, in therapy, you have to discuss every single domino, right? With detail, every bad thing you've ever been through. So we go back in the first session and we figure out what was the belief that was formed without your permission, without you even knowing that your brain did that. And then we give you the resources. We upgrade that belief. We optimize it. So we go from I'm not safe to I'm more than safe. I'm not loved to I'm more than loved. God loves me. I love me, right? I'm more than enough. Not just I'm good enough. I'm more than enough. And that shifts how you perceive the whole world. It's how you interpret what you're experiencing that causes how you feel, not the situation itself. And so when you start to tell yourself a new story, you start to feel more empowered. And then you start to make new decisions that create new results. And that reinforces the more empowering belief. And so that's what we do in session 1. Then in session 2, we upgrade the feelings.
Yeah,
Right?
and so
We
I was going to
release
ask
that.
you real quick. So session 1, when
Yeah.
you start the belief, because this is something I worked on with Louise,
Mm-hmm.
even though you don't believe it yet, right? Because even though you can switch your belief, but it doesn't necessarily mean you take ownership of that belief yet.
That doesn't happen with my client. With my
So
clients, the
like,
reason,
they
yeah,
believe it right away. Like, I am enough.
yes,
Okay.
yes,
Oh,
because
I
I created a new emotional experience.
Oh, okay.
For the first belief, the negative belief, was created around an intense emotional experience, and then whatever the idea was got locked in. So I create a new emotional intense experience and then lock in the new belief. So
I
they don't walk away trying to talk themselves into whether they believe this or not. They feel it and they know it, and it's happened inside of them because we created a new emotional experience.
Got it. Because that's where I think most people in the affirmation process of taking I'm not good enough, let's just
Yeah.
say, to I am
Yeah.
good enough, I'm more than enough,
Mm-hmm.
that it's like, okay, well, I said that, but do I really
Yeah.
believe that? And that's something
Mm-hmm.
it takes time to actually step into feeling that way. I just want to take a quick moment to thank our amazing sponsor, Keranique, the go-to brand for women's hair growth solutions. If you're looking for healthier, thicker, more beautiful hair, no matter what hair concerns you have, Keranique has got you covered. Their products are clinically proven and dermatologist recommended, offering a complete hair care system, including treatments, shampoos, conditioners, and supplements to help you achieve stronger, fuller looking hair from the inside out. So whether you're starting your hair regrowth journey or maintaining gorgeous, healthy locks, Keranique has a solution for you. And as a Beauty Shift listener, you get 25% off site-wide. All you have to do is head over to store.keranique.com and use the code BeautyShift25 at checkout. Thanks again, Keranique, for supporting the Beauty Shift and helping women everywhere feel confident and beautiful. So now let's get back to the show. So are you taking people through that emotion process through hypnotism, or is it just visualizing something entirely different?
It's the same. Yeah. So hypnosis is just when you get into a relaxed, open state of mind, right? So whether you're visualizing or, or using hypnotherapy, it's kind of all the same your brain waves are just slowing down, which is normal, when you get relaxed, when you watch TV, when you're looking at your phone. And so, when I was trained as a hypnotherapist a gazillion years ago, the whole focus was on getting the people deep enough into trance, and we'd spend 30 minutes on an induction. I spend about 2 minutes now because I find that all that isn't even necessary anymore. I help people get relaxed because people have so much tension inside. But really it's just a couple of minutes and then we go right to the belief. So you're 100% correct. And that's what I found too. That's why I kept trying to figure out, you can give yourself affirmations, and I understand repetition, but if you're constantly fighting yourself and you don't believe what you're really saying, or you tell yourself, I'm abundant, and then you look and you got $5 in your wallet, you don't feel abundant. You feel like you're lying to yourself.
Right.
And so it creates this conflict inside. And sometimes the affirmations can make it feel worse because you're like, it's not working for me. What am I doing wrong? Maybe this isn't going to work for me. Right.
Exactly.
And then we just make ourselves even more victimized on accident. Nobody's doing this on purpose. Right. So this is what's happening though. So what we have to do is we've got to go back and create a new experience so that the foundation is I am safe, I am loved, I am worthy, I can do anything I put my mind to. And then when you use those affirmations, you believe them because instead of being in a conflict, you got both parts of your mind wanting and believing the same thing. And so it just speeds up the whole process, which makes, it doesn't mean like you're never going to have negative thoughts again or worries or fears, right? We are human, but it does mean you're going to have a stronger foundation to come from. And that's what I'm trying to get out into the world, that when you do this in this way, it creates that breakthrough and that foundation lightning fast. and then everything else you do is you're building it on a strong foundation now. A horticulturist once told me, she said, if you plant enough flowers in the soil, it will change the soil and make it more conducive for growing flowers. And so we just got to build that foundation first.
I love that. So when you take people through the process of really turning those beliefs around, what is the next step for people to really continue on this path so that they really continually build that healthy soil, I guess you could say?
Yeah, excellent question. So in session 1, we're upgrading the beliefs. It's like you're a high performance race car, but you've got a parking brake that's set and it's creating this drag. And so we got to release the brake, right? Yeah. So that's what we do in session 1. And then people feel a lot better. But sometimes people in session 2 can feel angry, frustrated, upset because they upgraded that belief, but they're still very resentful that they had to go through it to begin with. And so that's when I realized we also have to do like an emotional upgrade, right? A feelings upgrade. And so in session 2, I help people to release that anger, hurt, resentment, right? Self-pity, right? So because you brought up Wayne Dyer, I'm a huge fan of Wayne. And he used to say that if you get bit by a snake, a poisonous snake, the snake bite hurts really bad, but that's not what kills you. It's the venom that's inside. We got to get rid of the poison.
Yep.
And what most people do when they get hurt is they protect the poison. They keep it inside because I have to keep this inside or I'll get hurt again. No, you're not protecting yourself. You're keeping yourself stuck. And people don't recognize that. So session 2, we release the poison. Now, each session, I'm also teaching them a tool, right? So I'm teaching them how to use power breathing so they know how to activate their relaxation response instead of their fight or flight response. In session 2, we change the quality of the questions you ask yourself, right? Most people don't understand that their mind works like a GPS. And you tell your GPS where you want it to go and it starts to take you there. Most people are telling themselves what they don't want, right? You would never tell your GPS, don't take me to the post office, because it'll say getting directions to the post office, right? But we say, don't eat those cookies, don't stress out, don't get mad.
Beat ourselves up is basically what we're doing. Yes.
Yeah. And so then your brain says, okay, and then we eat the cookies and we get mad and then we wonder what happened. I had this great plan and it went out the window. Okay. So it's because we're not understanding how we're using our mind. And so in session 2, we're giving them new power questions so that they're focusing on what they want and what resources they do have and how they can succeed. And then in session 3, we start to help them step into what I call U 2.0. So we've released the parking brake. We've freed them from those toxic emotions. So they just feel peaceful. They're sleeping better at night. Their mind feels more calm. They've had a lot more positive experiences because when they're shifting how they're feeling and how they're showing up, it influences the people and the situations around them in a positive way. So by session 3, we're starting to have them look at the old strategies and the old beliefs versus the new strategies and the new beliefs. And then it just becomes so obvious the pleasure that they're gaining from this new way of being, and that we lock that in. That's what we reinforce, so that they feel like not only are they upgrading what's going on in their unconscious mind, but they have a better set of power tools that will help them to manage what's going on and improve the stories that they're telling themselves in every moment of the day. And that powerful combination sets them up for continued success. And then in session 4, we're taking any situation and turn it into an opportunity, right? And we just kind of keep building from there.
Yeah. And what happens for my personal experience, I haven't done your process, but I've done some of the ideas that you're talking about. There's a couple things that came to mind. And one of them is that no longer will I be in situations anymore that aren't good for me. Whatever's going on internally, people will mirror that. So if you're really negative, you're going to be real comfortable around negative people. But if you're not, and you're doing the work like you're talking about, Tim, where you really are saying, wait a minute, my belief system is shifting. My experiences now are shifting. You no longer can go back. It's like, eating super healthy, clean food. And then you go out to McDonald's and you eat a Whopper and a bunch of fries and it tastes so good. And then you're sick as a dog because you're just that toxicity just doesn't, the eternal toxicity isn't
Yeah.
there anymore. And I'm not trying to say that every experience is toxic, but that's what came up for me when you were talking about this. Like, this process is really powerful and it's freeing because you just no longer are attached to external things. Or you won't even get an attachment with external things that aren't good for you anymore. And it's scary to do, because sometimes you're like, oh, well, that means turning down an opportunity or turning down, getting to know someone more. But it's really, when you do this work, it's exciting because you're like, wow, I feel like I'm more in control of my life, but in a healthy way. It's not about being a control freak. It's about protecting myself and caring about myself more.
Yeah, I mean, that's beautiful. That's what our standards and our values and our morals are there for. And so many times we believe we have to sell out or sacrifice ourselves to get what we want or to be where we want to be. And the people who have the courage to say, no, I'm not going to do that. And it's not just about saying, no, I'm not going to do this, or turning down situations. The real belief is that it's okay if I turn down this situation because I got 10 more on the way.
Yeah. And I don't need to be a people pleaser anymore. And I don't need to make everybody else happy but me. And I don't need to take on every single opportunity work-wise because it's going to fill my bank account. It's just like, what's good for Michelle? And that's a scary thing sometimes, because I just know that it's like, that means I'm going to disappoint someone, or, maybe, but it's so freeing. I guess freeing is the word I think of, because to me, in my younger years, I was so shackled to showing up as everybody else wanted me to be. And I think as women, that's pretty common.
Yes. Oh, for sure. For sure. So you can't have courage without fear.
Yep.
Right. And what you're describing, Michelle, is courage, right? That you're going to be afraid sometimes. And sometimes we're going to wonder if we made the right choice. But we are showing up with courage anyway, because we recognize at the end of the day, if I knew I was going to be okay, what would I do? If I knew I was going to be okay no matter what would I do? And then all of a sudden the answer becomes obvious. But when we're so afraid that there's going to be consequences, because again, people are afraid, what if it gets worse, right? What if I make the wrong choice? And we always feel like we make these choices and then it's the, end of the world. Like one bad choice and our whole life is ruined. And for some people, they feel that way just because they kept that story alive in their mind.
Yes.
Because they think they missed opportunities, or life should have been a certain other way, or they were blocked or held back. But you just take that situation and you take that pain and you turn it into your purpose, right? You take that mess in your life, you turn it into your message, and you keep moving forward. And that's how we make ourselves a victor instead of feeling like a victim.
How do you help your clients with the triggers that can come up along the way? We think we're great. This happens to me. Everything's going great. And all of a sudden something just triggers me. And it's going way back to some of that work I did a long time ago. And I'm like, wow. But a lot of times we don't even stop to think about what's triggering us. We just react.
Well, that's exactly right. You've got to be more mindful. And sometimes, it's going to catch you and knock you off guard, or push you off the path. And it might have taken you weeks or days to snap out of it. But if you keep working on yourself, maybe it just takes, 15 minutes, or a few minutes to go, wow, I'm really angry right now. Or wow, that really freaked me out. Or wow, I'm really stressed right now. And then you start to use the tools that you're training yourself to use, because I always ask first responders, how do you stay calm in these crisis situations? And they always say, my training, training. So if we are training ourselves to remain calm, and a lot of entrepreneurs and people who are successful, because of the amount of uncertainty, because of the amount of pressure that we are always facing, you learn to remain calm in those situations so that you don't make it worse. And if you believe that everything's going to work out for you in the end, then you know that this too shall pass. You'll get through this. You're going to be okay. Or like a cat, no matter how high you throw that cat in the air, it's going to land on its feet, and we're going to be all right. So, and then you start to slow yourself down, and then you ask yourself, all right, what would I have to believe to feel this way I'm feeling right now? To feel triggered, what would I have to believe? I have to believe that I just got taken advantage of. I have to believe that somebody has offended me or hurt me in some way, right? And then, well, what would I rather believe instead? if I'm coming from a place of peace, if I'm coming from a place of strength, right? If I'm coming from a place of love,
Right.
right? And then, of course, like you said earlier, it depends on who you're hanging around with. That's going to influence you a lot. So if you're reading books or listening to audio programs or listening to this amazing show here, then when you go through those experiences, you're going to be like, Michelle told me that I need to stop and pause for a second, make sure I'm taking care of me, right? And so you'll have that because you're keeping it top of mind. So it's so important to surround yourself with good messages, useful information. I try to avoid the words positive and negative. Let's talk about useful and unuseful, right? Is it useful to empower yourself and have others around you that make you feel like you have full permission to make yourself a priority, that's not selfish, that's not sinful, that you taking care of yourself is essential if you want to take care of others, right? Or is it unuseful? I don't think it's useful to scare ourselves, to make ourselves totally depleted so that strangers can feel better. right? Which is what we do. Yeah. So think about it in terms of useful and unuseful and the energy you surround yourself with.
Exactly. And do you work a lot with women or is it mainly men? And the reason I'm asking is because I think a lot of women feel guilty about stepping into this mindset sometimes, that it's selfish.
Oh, I get it. Yeah, for sure. When I first started out, I was doing a lot of weight loss. And so I would say 80% of my practice for like 15 years was women. And I always say women were just smarter because they would go and they would get the help they needed faster, and guys were stubborn, and always, I don't need this, I'm going to tough it out. And so, but these days I would say that it's 50-50, right? So I have an equal amount of men and women that are going through the experiences and the programs that I have, because everybody that is wanting to live a better life is going to want this now. And people will feel the same kinds of feelings. It's just for different reasons, right? So even when people fight in their marriages, a lot of times, if you take a step back, you're fighting about the same issue, but you're looking at it from such a different angle, from the opposite point of view, that you're fighting about the same thing, like not feeling heard, not feeling respected, not feeling appreciated, right? And not being understood. And so we get mad at each other, but we're doing the same things just differently, right? Pushing each other's buttons, but we don't recognize it. It's easy to see it in our partner. It's harder to see it in ourselves. That's why we call it blind spots, right? So I think that that everybody is kind of struggling with the same types of insecurities and the same types of wants and desires.
Sometimes the issue that's happening isn't even the issue. It's something going on underneath that has nothing to do with that, but it's just, that's what triggered it. And I think, again, that's going back to your root cause. It's really taking a step back. And I'm finding that, like, if I get triggered from something now, I go, okay, what's really going on with me? That this is triggering me? Because I don't think it has anything to do with that other person. They're fine. They're going about their business, doing their thing, but it really triggered me and got me upset. And then I'm like, okay, why is it getting me upset? What's triggering me? Take a pause, take a beat, and really get to the core of what's going on with me, because 9 times out of 10, it has nothing to do with what just happened.
Yeah. I mean, that's really insightful, because if you want freedom, people would always say in my seminars, how do you get someone to stop pushing your buttons? And I'd say the best way to do it is just to get rid of the button. Because you can't always stop people from trying to push. But if you just get rid of the button and it's not there, it doesn't affect you anymore. So I love how you immediately say, what's going on inside of me? Because sometimes the other person could be totally in the wrong, and it is their fault, and they are acting immature or emotionally unintelligent or whatever it may be, rude, right? So it could totally be them. But again, you still want to ask yourself and add that question. In addition to what's triggering me, what would I have to believe to feel this way? And maybe ask it a few times till you get to the real core truth. And then when you recognize that what you really think is that it means something bad about you, and you're offended by that, or you don't want someone to think of you that way, or whatever it may be, you recognize, well, I have the power to shift that. Right? I have the power to change that belief, to upgrade that story. I have the right to beliefs are just opinions. They're just ideas. You have the right to whatever opinion you want.
And like you said in the beginning of this interview, I mean, it goes back to the opinions of someone else that starts to affect you. So if someone comes at me and says, you're blah, 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 I
Mm-hmm.
mean, I take a beat then and I'm like, okay, that's not true for me.
Mm-hmm.
Because sometimes people are just, especially a spouse or something, you're doing da 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 da. I'm like, okay, well, this person is obviously stressed out, going through a hard time, had a bad day,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
wants to
Mm-hmm.
take their stuff out on me. And that's not my
Mm-hmm.
issue. And whatever he said or she said, that's not my truth. So I'm sorry you
Yeah.
feel that way, but maybe you need to go into timeout in the other room. But that comes from doing this work that you're talking about, Tim, because when
Yes.
you get really strong in your core beliefs, if you did something really wrong, you're going to immediately come out and say, I'm so sorry. Like,
Yeah.
I didn't mean that. And it's not that
Yes.
you're more apologetic. It's just that there's less defense mechanism stuff going on and
Yeah.
less
Yeah.
buttons being triggered in you and less garbage inside of you that
Yes.
you're coming from a place of more clarity and almost like your system's more clean and you're like, okay, wow,
Yeah.
maybe I did say something wrong, or let me I'm so sorry about that, and rectify that. And then if somebody's coming at you that's not justified, you don't take it personally because you're like, yeah, I don't think so. But that's
Yeah.
okay. I'm sorry you're having a bad day and you just you're taking, but it's like it took a
Yeah.
lot of work and a lot of money to get where I'm at.
Yeah. It
I
does. I
mean,
mean,
and a
this
lot
is
of work with Louise Hay,
yeah.
Cheryl Richardson, all
Right.
my Hay House friends too. But I mean, this is
Yes.
something that doesn't necessarily happen overnight, but it's
No.
an ongoing process too, right? This is something
That's
that's just
right.
not a one and done. I mean,
Yes.
do you
Yes.
find your clients will come back to you once in a while and say, okay, I need to like read a little refresher course?
Oh, for sure. Yeah, absolutely. Because we're always evolving, right?
Right.
And if we're always evolving and expanding our comfort zones, then we learn how to be more we learn how to be more comfortable in uncomfortable situations, right? So,
Right.
like with the wonderful example that you gave about, when our spouse pushes our buttons or they're taking it out on us, we're no longer having to defend our character, like our, worthiness to even be alive. We might have to own a behavior, or we just recognize that that's their behavior, but we're not saying they're awful. We're just saying how they're behaving is
Yeah.
not very nice right now. And when you separate the person from the behavior, we can work through the behaviors. But
Yes.
most people are doing character assassinations on each other, especially the people they're supposed to love the most.
Right.
And that's why there's so much unresolved anger and hurt and resentment. And so when you start to unpack that and you start taking responsibility for how you're showing up, even if someone else does push your buttons, it doesn't mean that you have to react. You train yourself to respond in a way that allows you to get through it better, that allows you to blow things off. A lot of people say the secret to a happy marriage is you learn how to blow things off because you're not taking it personal, which
Right.
then causes you to make a personal jab, and it just keeps the hurt alive. We want to put the fire out when it's little, not let it grow. And
Right.
so that means learning how to do the work, take care of yourself, not take things personal, come from a place of strength and peace, a place of vulnerability, and also a place of accountability.
Yeah.
And these are just learnable skills. And it does take time. You can upgrade beliefs very quickly, but as you continue to grow into the kind of person that you were born to be, that's a journey.
It is. And it's again, like you said, it's not always easy, but it's so worth it. It
Oh
is
yeah.
so worth it. So, oh my gosh,
Hmm.
I'm so glad that you joined us today because I know we've had a couple times that we had this session booked and I've had my travel, HSN, all kinds of stuff I had to reschedule.
Yeah.
So I'm so glad that you stuck with me because this
Yeah.
conversation has been great. And I'm sure many people listening are wanting to know how they can either read your books, check out your website, or even work with you one-on-one. So if you could share how people can get in touch with you.
Oh, well, thank you. Yeah, we'll put the links in the show notes so
Yeah.
that if you want a copy of my One Belief Away book that has all these strategies, it upgrades your mind while you're reading the book. That's how I
Mm,
wrote it. And so you can go to onebeliefawaybook.com. And then if you are interested in some personal coaching, Indie Hypnosis, INDY, I built my practice in Indianapolis and then was there for 20 years. Then I was in Los Angeles, doing the celebrity hypnotist thing. And then now I'm in Florida. So I've been working with people from all over the country for a long time. And so you can reach out to indiehypnosis.com and learn more. But ultimately, what you want to do is you want to give this episode 5 stars, share it with your friends, make sure you subscribe, because these kinds of strategies and these kinds of conversations change lives. So make sure you do that, because it helps a lot.
Thank you. I appreciate that. You gave me goosebumps, because it's so true. That's why I do this podcast. It's not about helping people like improve their makeup or their skincare necessarily. It's really about a holistic approach to looking and feeling better. Yeah. Because I mean, life is precious, and it's a wonderful journey that we're on, and we can make it even more wonderful. Like you said, where's the joy? Where's the happiness? Where's the you and things, and really not get caught up in all the fear and self-doubt. It just robs us of all the wonderful things that life has to offer us. So thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you very much. I appreciate it. I look forward to our next conversation.
Man, that was another really powerful conversation. And what I hope you're taking away from this today is that you're not your past, you're not your fears, and you are not the voice in your head that tells you you are not enough. Got that? I am loving this podcast because it's just so cool to dive into these conversations, because so many of these things we're talking about, they're learned patterns, and anything that is learned can be unlearned. So I thank Tim for being here today and sharing his wisdom with us. And to all of you listening, if something in this conversation hit you just a little, then just think about that. That's your awareness waking up. That's your moment. Yeah, that's right. It's your moment. Because this shift doesn't happen all at once. It happens a little bit at a time. So if it's awakening in you, that's cool. It happens the moment you begin to question what you've been believing about yourself. And if you're ready to go deeper into that transformation and reconnect with your confidence, your worth, and your radiance, please make sure you're connected with me, because I have a membership for women to support women going through the aging process, beauty, health, and wellness, with world-renowned experts that join us every month to share their wisdom as well. All you have to do is go to michellephillips.com, hit contact, and let me know that you're interested, and I'll send you the info, as well as my online courses I've got coming up. And I also have tons of resources for free for you. So michellephillips.com. And until our next session here on The Beauty Shift, just remember, you are enough just as you are. And I'm grateful for you spending time with me today. Take care, and I'll see you next time.
I want to take a moment to thank our sponsor, Carinique, for thicker, fuller hair at every age and every stage of a woman's life. I hope you enjoyed the show, and if you did, please feel free to share with your friends, and don't forget to subscribe so you don't miss an episode. And if you'd like to receive my free beauty and wellness gifts, just go to my website, michellephillips.com. I also invite you to join my social media community on Facebook and Instagram, Michelle Phillips Beauty.